Yes, sir. Greetings and the best of salutations. That would be prayer, power, peace, patience, and prosperity. In the opening of a book uh, by Tom J. Carey, the man dash not race, class, gender, and dilemmas of black manhood. It doesn't take much to really comprehend the um, the evidence, the written evidence, or as well as the historical context of the content of the written evidence when it comes to, you know, race, class, gender, and the members of manhood, you know, and the characters that is depicted. I know Naeem Akbar wrote something in regards to process of manhood. He said male, boyhood, and manhood. He says the male is a biological entity. You simply have to have genitalia to be a male. Now we know that not we, but just think of um, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talks about the gun and how it's shaped like genitalia, you know, and that's the psychology of the male, of manhood. You know, just the psychology of it. Looking at that, and but when you have deep seated of insecurities and feelings of inadequacy, when you try to make up for it, you know, with by way of sexual promiscuity, you know, it's cool. I understand it. Experienced it, fighting against it to this day. And in that sexual promiscuity, that one becomes possibly to understand that in this misconception of him being a man, you know. You know, we like the pleasure, but there is the responsibility that comes with the pleasure, you know. Yes, you know, we use terms like son of a gun, you know. Now, the pulling of a trigger, you know, is your manhood at the expense of killing another human being, you know. But even if you are demeaning and degrading and killing another human being, make no difference of what is your nationality, your creed, but we're dealing with the content of one's character. It's about controlling and managing your emotions, you know. Seems as though the more women you have, the more you are a man, you know. And this sex and six, and it gives the It's like it takes away the understanding of the importance of managing your emotions or the balance that one's need in life, you know. Yes. The beastly nature, you know, the appetite does goes on with Naim Akbar said the male mentality is dictated by the appetite, the instincts, the urges. I think Brother Warren D. Muhammad talks about being properly guided by way, you know, being properly guided. I'm paraphrasing something, but he deals with the urges, you know, that he was talking about. I think emotionality. You know, we have to be properly guided and being able to manage and control as much as we can, but not being under the influence of the dominant culture, looking to be accepted in this world, and don't understand that we must know and appreciate the world, the universe that's inside of us. That is the community, you know, the heart, the spleen, the lungs, the liver, the human anatomy. When you deal with the human anatomy, you know, you talking about a community and the journey to community life is a journey of excellence, you know, excellence. So this process, as Dr. Naim Akbar talks about when it comes to manhood, you know, appetite, the urges, desires, or feelings with low self-control. And anytime you deal with low self-control, you have to deal with, excuse me, Dr. DeGroot book, low self-esteem, you know. Esteem is an estimation. You know, you are in the vicinity, you know. Target, aim is accountability. But the urge that Brother Imam Warren Muhammad was talking about, the well-being and essential requirement, well-being, what will bring the African American into the proper ordering of his emotionality and into the proper devotional urge rather than the pleasure urge. This world sells its citizens on the pleasure urge. They say that pleasure is the first motivation. The object of man's life is to be happy. And I realize that happiness is the joy that you feel when you are in pursuit of your potential. Yes, happiness is a primary need in life. It certainly is basic, but the wise did not call it happiness. And we know in America they say in pursuit of happiness, they were self-indulgent men of pleasure, men of leisure and pleasure. But yeah, and one's true purpose in life is to reach his full potential, and that is to move from sympathy to empathy. If not, we're dealing with a apathetic spirit. Yes, happiness they called it. They didn't, they did not call it happiness. Wise men, they called it well-being. Someone is associated with integrated healing. Yes, because the purest true form of integration is when the sperm mixed with ovum. Yes, yes. Uh, they said that the natural object or the natural goal of life is well-being, holistic. And when you look at it from a holistic perspective, you will determine the end result for me is to revise social coherency, to be coherent, to be consistent in your thinking, and you find the line when you follow the line of reasoning of logically follow the line of reasoning, then you understand progress. Yes. Progress is defined is to follow the logical line of reason. And we need to learn to reason from the premise of conversation. So well-being, happiness is too vague a term to describe this natural goal, as he says. Let us take a look at the word well-being. Well-being is not only an essential requirement in our life, it is an essential requirement in the life of anything, in the life of community, in the life of family, in the life of yourself. A dog or a cat or any creature will struggle for the well-being, but well-being for the human being is a big term because the limits for our growth are much bigger than the limits for the growth of an ordinary animal or a creature. We may be happy. We may start out seeking to acquire something that our life needs. We may acquire that which we're seeking, and still not find happiness because what we needed or wanted was just one part of our life really needs. While we were seeking it, we thought it was the whole. We might say, if I can just get that, I know that I will be happy. I think Malcolm X said that in a society they want you to grow up. I mean, the culture, reflection of the culture in the society in which we live, because you can tell the collective psychology of one's mentality by what he or she produces in the culture, and is associated with his institutions, associated with his principles, as well as his trends. Yes, grow up, but not mature. So we're talking about mature, the process of manhood. Naim Akbar goes on to say that one of the key traits to being a male is his dependency and lack of self-sufficiency. The male is not in control, but his desire and urges are, as Brother Imam said that, as I read from Brother Imam Warren D. Muhammad. The next stage is boyhood. In this stage, the male comes to show more discipline over being dependent. See, I realize that maybe there's 3 stages. There's dependent, independent, and there's interdependent. And when you look up and see the correct interpretation of the universe, of the stars, the moon, and the sun, that they are interdependent of one another, that they are all in harmony with one another. Yet, in this boyhood stage, the male comes to show more discipline over being dependent and passion-driven. However, the reasoning has not matured as of yet. The interest is complying to order is not to the interest in complying to order is to only look out for himself and get what he wants. And even though he may not want to hurt people who have been nice to him, and that he may have feelings for the well-being of others. His tendency to be slick, discipline becomes an instrument of manipulation, and playing games overrides a state of seriousness. So we see the seriousness of what's going on, the slickness in the society and the culture in which we live, exploit one's natural human tendencies. Natural human tendencies is being exploited in a very slick way, and an instrument of manipulation. The media, press, and television, as I said in the book, the man dash not, and not the image. The image that is on the book is the youngest brother that has been falsely accused in there. I say falsely accused, and you do the evidence, and he was executed. But the manipulation. And we look at the manipulation of the music. We look at the manipulation of the media. When it comes to manhood, black manhood at that. And anytime we use the word black, there's always confrontation. There's nothing such as black or white, cannot be biologically proven. Just social constructs. And see, that's another form of killing one's manhood in the manipulation process. And serious, and those who do that are serious in manipulating you. But when intelligence is in the room, manipulation will free. And it's to a point now where it's that it can become difficult for people, for men, black men to act and speak out. and be a man. So yes, if we look at the dead corpse, in the on the media, press, and television, and on the streets, and the one who does that to another human being and say, well, that's his or her manhood, but he or she is being manipulated because circumstances makes us other than ourselves. Yes, yes. So we develop one who's doing the manipulating, whoever it may be behind the scenes, calling the shots, but we see it. And that become his or her appetite, and then therefore it feeds that same appetite to those who participate in the hurting, harm, and injuring, and killing, and demeaning, degrading, and devaluing, and destroying each other's manhood. Yes. And you look at the characters, the roles that is being played on media, press, and stuff. It's like now, and it's done through mythologies. Yes, mythologies. Even we say the so-called black hero now, black hero. That's still destroyed. It's mythology. You know what I'm saying? These are myths, and they say, well, this is I'm thrilled that there are black heroes now, but you're being manipulated. You're being manipulated. Yes. How can you find pride and take pride in continuing to be manipulated? I just don't get that. Yes. And this is the way one achieves his or her masculinity and find his or her masculinity. Racist characters. It has something to do with a compensation. We did something the other day about emotional suppression, the cause and consequences. And one of them is compensation, and it means displaying greatness to hide your inner weakness. Narcissism, a personality disorder in which a person exaggerates his or her own self-importance. It's an exaggeration. There ain't no such thing as Superman. But that's the masculinity that comes out of the imagination of the mind. You can tell the collective psychology of one's mentality by what he or she produces, and therefore many people become victims of that as pertains to the African American. And that that gives you masculinity. So you high, so you got the money, you got the wealth, you got this, but you're still high. We do all these things. Some things are perpetuated and promoted to hide one's real weakness. Intellectual weakness. Slick discipline, and even when the time of when people were able to, the comedy thing. I mean, you can talk about a particular ethnic group, you know what I'm saying? But that's just the psychology of it, the means and the way of you expressing yourself without being physical or attacking the one who have degraded you, who have devalued you, who is designed to demasculate you. And not to mention putting the men against the women. The men is being emasculated and the women is being masculated. These are all manipulative games, man. These are all tactics. These are all strategies. And this is how the people behind the scenes call the shots. Maybe this is how they get their masculinity. Maybe this is how they get their thing off. Huh? Maybe it's a part of intellectual masturbation. When intelligence is in the room, manipulation will flee, man. Manipulation will flee. Third phase of manhood. Process of manhood, Naim Akbar says. Not to mention John Henry Clark say, what is civilization? What is a civilized society? When it has scientists and scholars. It's a literary society. Third phase, manhood, is established when one can think beyond himself. We all like to see beyond the heavens, but we have to apply what we have learned right down here on earth. Ain't no escapism. think beyond himself, but also he has a genuine interest in his community. He should have some sense of responsibility to every child, adult, man, and woman. He is a role model for his community. He is proactive and does what is necessary without being told. He is responsible and takes responsibility for his actions. Manhood fits the mold of being an effective father, husband, son, and brother. A man must have a vision, and vision, as Elijah Muhammad says, stems from the source of one's thinking, vision and direction. He must be uncompromising in his values and positive example that he sets for others. Manhood is a process. It begins with the renewing of the mind. The renewing of the mind, as the English Bible says, on a continuing basis, be a transformative power. We all look at the movie, some people, not all, but look at the movie, Transform. That was a transforming power. Transforming power. A renewing on a continuing basis of the mind. Man is a leader in his own right. The book says, man dash not, man up. Man up. Because silence, as Dr. King said, is betrayal. Let us not betray our manhood, our womanhood, and let us not betray our human dignity and the manner and the way in which we treat each other. That's royalty. And I ain't talking about with your titles, prestige, power, your privilege, your money. I'm talking about your humanity.